Welcome to r/IDontWorkHereLady, where we share stories about folks that are mistaken for employees by irate customers. First of all, thank you to all subscribers for so many likes and comments under the video. It really helps. The first story is, Lady, I'm an accountant. I don't know where they keep chanterelle mushrooms. Yesterday was an interesting experience at work, and I wasn't going to share it since it's rather trivial, but I had a good laugh with my boss about it this morning and decided to share. Background. I currently work as an accountant for a multi-million-dollar super gourmet, super bougie specialty produce company. Our corporate HQ consists of 3 buildings: the warehouse, the corporate offices, and a goods shop for the public who want to purchase our products without a wholesale account. Now, this company is really huge on customer service. They literally have this big recipe for success roadmap or whatever posted in the common area of the HQ, and employees are expected to climb Mount Everest if need be to get a customer what they're looking for. It's definitely interesting. You're usually expected to get them what they need even if it isn't your job. For me, since I don't have to interact with customers at all, that usually consists of redirecting calls from my line to the sales department because someone either got confused or decided to go buck wild with dialing extensions to avoid the automated answering service. Ironic because if you just get through the 7-second spiel, you're automatically given the extension for reception and the dial by name directory, but no one wants to wait. Clientele. Remember earlier that I mentioned there's a shop that's open to the public? The cool thing about the shop is that they do free samples of miscellaneous things, like cheese and charcuterie, vinegars, oils, salads, soups, chowders, etc. We also get employee discounts, so after the discount is applied, I'm paying the same amount for a cucumber that I would at the local chain grocery store. Fantastic! It's worth mentioning that given the nature of the business, the clientele tends to be as bougie and entitled as you would think. Housewife Karen with the "I want to speak to your manager" haircut will come in for overpriced charcuterie and olives for her boxed wine Tuesday brunch with other soccer moms. Yeah, it's that kind of place. It's nauseating at times and hysterical at others. I once saw a woman load up some samples into her Michael Kors knockoff. Literally put meat and cheese directly into her purse. Here we go. Yesterday, I decided to stretch my legs and get a snack from the shop downstairs. It was about an hour away from quitting time and I was already running on fumes. I made my way into the shop and had a quick chat with one of the employees that I'd made friends with a few months prior, before wandering around looking for something that caught my interest. It's worth mentioning that all of the employees in the shop are dressed the same. T-shirt with the company colors and logo and a matching fitted cap. We're super big on security, so everyone has employee badges that are used to identify each other and get in and out of the building, which is the true identifying factor of who's an employee and who's not. I was wearing an untucked short-sleeve button-up with little pineapples on it and a pair of jeans, but my badge was visible, clipped into my pocket. I went over and grabbed a package of yogurt-covered almonds and stopped at the charcuterie station to try some smoked salami from the south of France and some oddly fancy Munster cheese. A woman approached me from behind and tapped me on the shoulder. I looked to see who it was, my mouth full of meat, cheese, and a cracker. Me is me, lady is lady. Lady, where can I find chanterelle mushrooms? Me still chewing. Swallow. I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't work here. Lady points at badge. Yes, you do. Me. No, I mean, I don't work here in this shop. I don't really know where anything is except the fruits and snacks. I'll grab someone for you. Lady. Why can't you just go find them? Now, I'm notorious for accidental subtle attitudes, so I didn't notice until the damage was done, when I spoke even slower to her, hoping she'll grasp what I'm telling her. Me. I don't work here. Lady. Well, if you ask me, all employees should know where things are stored. I mean, what kind of customer service is that? How do you work here and not know where to find things? Me, clearly having lost my sanity. Lady, I'm an accountant. I don't know where they keep chanterelle mushrooms. Now give me 10 seconds and I'll find you someone who does. Literally just scooted off to the registers to grab one of the employees up there, who at this point had finally heard the conversation taking place, since I raised my voice a few octaves. She must have seen the look on my face, because she immediately hurried over to the customer who stood there, tapping her toes, might I add, waiting. I wanted more cheese, so I went back to the charcuterie section and grabbed another cracker and a piece of cubed Munster. The lady was interacting with the shop employee, and come to find out, dried chanterelle mushrooms were hanging from a shelf literally right behind her, while the fresh ones were in the produce cooler, where they belong. I didn't think to suggest it because if she was asking me where they were, I assumed they weren't where they should have been. Mild brain fart on my part. The lady ended up glaring over at me, 5 feet away, and said, "That man is ridiculously rude." I extended my hand, holding a cracker with cheese, and said, "Want one?" with the biggest grin ever. She just scoffed and walked away. Yeah, I didn't handle the situation to the best of my abilities, but after a long and exhausting day, I hold no illusions. I went down there for a snack, not to get into a confrontation over fungus. The second story is, are toilet attendants even a thing anymore? I've never seen one. So last week I was out to dinner and drinks to celebrate my friend getting his dream job. We went to a restaurant and an entertainment complex. It has a casino, restaurants, bars, and a theater. I drove with a friend, and when we got there, we both needed to use the restrooms before going to dinner. Girls always go to the toilet in pairs, of course. The restrooms we went to were just outside the theater entrance. There was a show later that evening, so there were a few people waiting ahead of us for a toilet. My friend went in ahead of me, and I was the last person waiting when an older woman walked in. She was dressed extravagantly in a delightful sunny yellow tweed dress and jacket, strings of pearls, gemstone brooches, gravity-defying beehive kind of hairdo. Not sure if she was going to the theater or dinner at the captain's table on the Titanic. At the time, I was dressed up in typical Saturday night attire, in a black cocktail dress, heels with full hair and makeup, and a sparkly clutch tucked under my arm. So I'm standing there waiting to pee when the older woman glides past me towards the stalls. She sees they're all full and stops, turns on her heels and addresses me. Lady, they're occupied? Me, yep. She cocks her head to the side and throws me the same look as Taylor Swift at the start of the Shake It Off video. You know that face? Lady, yes? I realized then that she was being a condescending bee and correcting my grammar. Me, yes? Lady, yeah, haha, okay. I kinda stand there dumbfounded, and I'm sure I actually smirked to myself a bit. Random stranger throwing shade at me? This will be a fun take to tell at dinner. The woman steps backwards towards the sinks, where I'm standing, and looks like she's about to set her handbag down on the counter. She sees that it's wet and stops and turns to me again. Lady, these countertops are wet. Me, yes they are. Lady, I could have ruined my handbag if I hadn't noticed that puddle there. Me, is it real leather? You know you can protect it against water and stains using leather protector spray that they sell at shoe stores? I used to work in a shoe store. I spray all my leather shoes and bags, so I guess that's why it came to mind. I tried to match her condescending tone when I said it. She definitely noticed. Lady, excuse me? Me, yes? Lady, I do not appreciate your unsolicited advice. You need to stop talking and clean this up. Does your generation not understand how to respect others? At this point, most people would have put two and two together and realized she thought I was a toilet attendant. But I'd had a few cheeky wines before we left the house, and I've never seen a toilet attendant outside of the movies, so that hadn't occurred to me yet. So I just stood there with a bemused look on my face, trying to come up with a sassy response. She raised her eyebrows and shrugged her shoulders at me, as if to say, well? I had nothing. I was too amused. I just let out a little giggle. Lady, good lord, what's the matter with you? She stomps towards me and reaches for the paper towel dispenser on the wall behind me, dramatically pulls the sheet off and stomps back to the counter to wipe it down. Lady ranting to herself. Useless. Absolutely useless. Ridiculous. Teenagers are getting lazier and lazier. Huh, I'm 26. This is theater for heaven's sake. What's your name? Me. Why? Lady, because I'm reporting you to your management. Oh, I get it now. It was so funny and so absurd to me that I did this weird laugh or scoff thing and nearly choked on my words. At this point, my friend is finally done and is walking towards us from her stall. Me, oh my god, do you think I work in here? In the toilet? I'm just waiting to pee. Lady, me, do toilet attendants even exist anymore? Me to my friend, are they even still a thing? Friend just shrugged. The woman had nothing to say back to me. She opened her mouth to say something, but instead did this big dramatic sigh and stomped past me to the now vacant toilet stall. B stole my place in line. I couldn't help myself and I called out after her. Is your generation not familiar with waiting in queues? Nailed it. I decided then to be the bigger person and not wait around for round two. We headed off to the restaurant where I finally peed in the toilet there. And the last story is Party Pooper and the Old Lady. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. So this is probably an atypical I Don't Work Here Lady story. A little weird since I am the one who purposefully asked someone who I know doesn't work there for something. Sorry if it's not what you're expecting and or longish. I was meandering through the aisles of Whole Wallet, picking up a few items we needed, but really trying to kill time since my husband was in the pharmacy across the parking lot filling a prescription. As I rounded the next aisle, I was surprised to see a woman that I'd met at an annual friend's cocktail party a month or two before. She was talking to another older lady, who I didn't recognize. She was sort of leaning in over one of those smaller carts, clearly having a conversation, while the older lady was listening and glancing down toward the floor. It didn't seem they were there shopping together, but that perhaps they'd seen one another in the aisle and were catching up or something. I chuckled internally because I remembered all at once the woman from the party. She had been pleasant but was also sort of odd. She was the kind of person who upon meeting you would ask you a strange question like, "Tell me, what's your passion?" But really so she could tell you something about her. In fact, she had asked me where I lived, only to tell me this obnoxious story about her father owning a prime/famous piece of real estate in a massive big city, which she lived in for some time in the 70s. But wouldn't you know, he sold it when the market was down. Prime famous piece of real estate, while it was down. Can you believe it? Playful shoulder smack, and that she just hates him for that. All of this is instantaneously going through my head, and I'm kind of doing the pros and cons list like, well, she wasn't awful, she was just a bit over the top. I had hit the wine that evening a good bit. Who knows, maybe I was looking back at this wrong, and maybe her steamrolling story seemed a little intense at the time, but she was pleasant enough in general, right? Maybe that night she'd had a few glasses too many herself. I'm slowly rolling my cart down the aisle, halfway to her, and older lady number 2 covering my 2 choices. 1. Walk right by and ignore her, possibly snubbing her and having it get back to mutual friend. Or 2. Stop and do a quick gushing, "Oh, hello there. Remember me from mutual friend's cocktail party? It's so lovely to see you," and be on my way. To be honest, I'm pretty extroverted when I have to be, but it's work for me, if that makes sense. So unless I'm on, like at a business event or party, I stick to my own thoughts, and normally I choose option 1 and ignore her. But since I was trying to kill some time while waiting for Hubs, I go, why not? Decision made. I stopped strolling and made a beeline toward them, rolling my cart right up to theirs dead on. No walking away like I don't know her now, with my hand raised to gently wave and mouth already opening to politely interrupt with a hello, when suddenly I hear her say, "And wouldn't you know it, he sold it when the market was down. Prime famous piece of real estate, while it was down. Can you believe it?" As she gives the older lady next to her a playful shoulder smack. The poor old woman toppled a bit to the side. I realized all at once that she did not know this kind old lady next to her, that Miss Party Pooper was in fact as obnoxious as I remember, and worse, since she clearly accosted this poor stranger with the same freaking horrid story, with the same canned lines that she fed to me apparently. I had to get out of this situation. The nice older woman raised her head up to look at me desperately, and we just locked eyes. I kept my gaze on the tiny old woman as I prayed that Miss Party Pooper didn't recognize me. That's when this fabulous sub, I'm a frequent lurker, must have popped into my head. "Hi, do you know where the peanut butter is?" "Oh, I'm sorry, you don't work here, haha." I blurted out awkwardly, all in one breath to the nice older woman. I don't know why I said that, but I had to say something, since I clearly had just very purposely approached them with something to say. The tiny older woman's face perked up, and I saw this was the opportunity she'd been waiting for, as she said, "Oh dear, yes, I can help you," and turned to the first woman quickly saying, "Excuse me, I gotta go, bye," and she ushered me away down the aisle. We walked silently around the corner to the peanut butter that I did not actually need, and I think she knew I didn't need, and I smiled and thanked her, and she smiled, sighed, and said, "Oh no, thank you. Have a lovely day, dear." We didn't say anything else to each other, but both hightailed it to the cash registers before Party Pooper found us again. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.